Hello, it's Nigel Bowden here again with another video about the WLAN Pi, and today I'm going to be having a look at how you can access your WLAN Pi. When people get themselves a new unit, quite often they scratch their heads a little bit and say, how do I actually get into this to have a look at the Linux operating system and get onto the CLI to look at some of the utilities that are available with it. And so I'm just going to take a look at a few access methods to get you up and running so you can SSH into the box and have a little bit of a play with it. A little bit of background before we start. Just in case you're not familiar, the WLAN Pi actually runs a small-scale Debian Linux distribution called Armbian, which is ideally suited to single-board computer devices. It actually provides a whole range of Linux services and tools, which you can use if you want to learn more about Linux, maybe learn a little bit about shell scripting, maybe even learn some Python. We've got Python on there, and you can even add some other Linux utilities that we haven't put on there yet as part of the distribution using a command like apt-get. So that's something that you can use to sort of customize it to your own requirements. We've also installed a whole range of tools which are going to be useful for network testing and analysis, and we've included those as part of the image that we've provided that you can burn onto an SD card and put into the wireless LAN, the WLAN Pi. But as I say, the one of the questions is, how do you actually get into it to access the command line and find all of these features and utilities? We don't actually have a serial console port on there, so we've got to get some sort of network connection and SSH into the device. The kit I'm actually going to be using in this video is a standard Neo 2 device running the latest WLAN Pi image at the time of recording, which is version 1.9.1. It's just a fresh image out of the box, no modifications. I'm also going to be running with a Comfast CF912AC wireless adapter, and this is the sort of standard main components if you buy a WLAN Pi kit or build your own kit up. So before we actually start, just going to run through some of the WLAN Pi variations, because there's been a few incarnations over the past couple of years while we've been developing this, and so you may have a slightly different version or think you've got a different version of the hardware and not too sure whether this applies to you. So just starting on the left hand side here, we had the black coloured original WLAN Pi, which is about a year or so ago. This was the device that was mainly used. You can see it's actually got an Ethernet port there, and there's a USB socket as well. And if we sort of flip it around on the other side, you can see at the bottom here we've got a little micro USB socket, and we've got the SD socket down here. And this model is perfectly okay for any of the exercises and access methods which I'm going to show you in this video. We've also got the slightly later version, which is the more modern one that's probably been shipping for the past year or so, and this is the silver coloured one. On the one side, it looks exactly the same as the black one. You've got the Ethernet port and you've got the USB socket, but if you actually flip it around now, as well as the micro USB and the SD card, we've got an additional USB socket on there, so you can actually connect two USB devices at a time, which gives you a few more options for different scenarios for testing and connectivity. As I say, in this video, that's not really a factor, and all of the scenarios I'm going to be looking at will work on either device. Also, you may well have one of these orange boxed versions, and these are the ones that have been sold at the WLPC conferences, and again, exactly the same. These will work in exactly the same way as the other two devices. And just in case you've ever wondered what's actually in the box here, the orange case, I've actually set up two devices side by side here. You can see on the right hand side on this image, we've actually got the boxed orange cased version of the WLAN Pi, and then next to it is the physical equivalent without the box around it. So it's just the silver WLAN Pi. We've got the CF912, and there's actually a USB to micro USB cable which is connected into the WLAN Pi. So just, it could be interesting information if you're not too sure what this USB cable is actually doing for you on the boxed version of the WLAN Pi. So I think we're going to move on to our first access scenario that we're going to be considering for how we can actually get into the WLAN Pi itself and have a poke around on the CLI. For this, we're actually using a USB cable, which is going to give us what's called OTG access, which is on the go. You see here, what we do is we actually connect a USB cable from our laptop, and this works for the Windows and for the Mac. So we plug the one end of the USB cable into the laptop, and then at the other end we have a micro USB plug, which we plug into the socket, which is marked OTG here. It's a micro USB. So once we actually connect the USB cable from the laptop to the WLAN Pi, we actually get an additional interface which is automatically created within our Windows laptop or our Mac, and we get a network connection between the laptop and the WLAN Pi. What actually happens is the WLAN Pi uses an address of 192.168.42.1 on the on its USB interface, and at the laptop end, over the network connection, we get a DHCP assignment, and you'll get some sort of address in the 192.168.42.x range, and we'll see this in the demo I'm going to do next, and you'll see exactly how this operates. So we don't have to worry about setting up any static addresses, anything like that on the laptop. We literally just plug the USB cable from the laptop into the WLAN Pi, and boom, away we go. It's really easy, nice, easy access, especially if you grab this thing out of your laptop bag and you just want to get it going and just have a little bit of a poke around, do some development work or run some utilities. It's a really quick and easy way of getting things going. You don't have to have any external network configuration at all. As in all of the examples here, when we actually log into the WLAN Pi, the default login credentials we're going to use with a fresh image out of the box is a username WLANPi, password of WLANPi. You can actually go into the box, the WLANPi, and change it to something if you want to secure it a little bit, but just so you know what a fresh image looks like out of the box. There is one caveat that we've actually found with this connectivity method. Sometimes some of the cables that you buy that look like they're a OTG type cable with the standard large USB, is it a Type A? I can't remember the exact designation, but a more traditional USB plug on one end and then a micro USB on the other. We've actually found that some of them have only got the power wires through, and so they won't work, and you can't actually get the network connection to come up. And the way it really tends to manifest itself is that when you plug the cable in, you don't see an additional interface spring into life on your laptop, and we'll take a look at that in the demo. So once we've got this set up, we'll basically SSH from our laptop into the WLAN Pi, and we've got access to the command line of the WLAN Pi and all of the Linux goodness that we've got in there. So I'm going to set a demo up here. I'm just going to switch on my camera, and you can see on the desktop here what we've got is a WLAN Pi with the wireless NIC installed into it. Sorry, plugged into it. We've also got an Ethernet port connection. I haven't actually connected that in at the switch end yet, and we've got at the top end there, we've got the micro USB connection for our OTG connection, and to the left there we've got a USB hub which goes back to my laptop. It's just so I'll put the USB hub there because I can't obviously show you easily plugging the USB cable into the socket on my laptop. So what first thing I need to do, the other good thing about the OTG connection method is it powers up the WLAN Pi for you as well, so you haven't got to worry about finding an external power source. So I'm just going to plug this in now. So I've plugged the cable in there, and so now we've actually got a USB connection from my laptop to the WLAN Pi. We give it a few seconds. We should actually see the initialization screen on the WLAN Pi, and then once we've done that, I'll be able to have a look at the. In fact, I'll bring this up now. I'll bring up the list of. Here we go. Let me just get this up. I've just got a list of network connections on my laptop for you to have a look at. So we can see now we've got the 192.168.42.1 address, which is shown assigned to the USB port of the WLAN Pi. So I'll just get rid of the WLAN Pi for a second, and then we can see now in our sorry, I'm operating on the wrong screen here. We can see now in our list of interfaces on the laptop, we've got this additional interface which popped into life. It's called a USB Ethernet RNDIS gadget. And this is the network connection that's formed between the laptop and the WLAN Pi. If I actually look at the state of that, we can drill down into it and we can see it's got an IP address of 192.168.42.4. So now at one end of the connection we've got 192.168.42.1, and at the other end we've got .4. So we should be able to get a network connection between the two devices. So I'll just close those down. I'll bring up my command prompt. Here we go. I'll just do a quick ping to make sure. So this is the command prompt from my laptop, and I'm actually just doing a quick check to see if I've got network connectivity to the WLAN Pi. So 192.168.42.1. There we go. So we've got the network connection. So that's showing that we've got the connection up between my laptop and the WLAN Pi. And then what we'll do an SSH session to WLAN Pi, which is the username at 192.168.42.1. Hit return. There we are, being prompted from the WLAN Pi for a password, which is WLANPi again. I think I might have mistyped that. Oh no, there we go. That's got us in. So we can see now we've got an SSH session into the WLAN Pi, and we can run all of the usual Linux commands that we would want to run and access all of the utilities that are available from the CLI. So that's a very quick and easy way of getting into the WLAN Pi using the USB OTG connection. Now the next connection method that we're going to have a look at is we're actually just going to plug the WLAN Pi into an Ethernet port, which has got a DHCP. It's got DHCP capability to assign an IP address to our WLAN Pi. So I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of that in a moment. So just to run through this scenario here, what we've actually got is the WLAN Pi, which is being connected to an Ethernet switch or any sort of network connected device where we can actually get a DHCP address. So if it was in your home lab or on your home network, probably some sort of service provider device. If it's in a enterprise network, you probably have some Ethernet port on one of the corporate switches somewhere, and hopefully that will be able to give you an IP address so that you can get network connectivity to the WLAN Pi. I'm also showing a connection here from my laptop. I'm showing it from going over an Ethernet port, but realistically this could be any sort of network connection that we choose to use. In fact, here I'm wirelessly connected to my home network, so I'm not actually going over a wired connection, but this is just a demonstration that as long as we've got a network connection where we can access the IP address of the WLAN Pi, then we can get into it remotely. I think this is probably the most self-evident of all of the connection methods, but it's still worth covering off just so that you're aware of it. And I just noticed that I'm actually blocking the view of a picture down there. Let me just switch my camera off. There we go. And we can see here, this is just highlighting where the Ethernet port is on the WLAN Pi. So I'm going to do a quick demo now of how we do that. as I say, this is probably the easiest and most obvious one to do. So let's just move on to again we're going to start an SSH session, and the login credentials are WLANPi in the same as they were for the previous demo and all the subsequent demos we're going to be doing. So here we go. Let me fire up my camera again. Actually, we're still on the OTG connection. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to move the I'm going to power it off, and I'm just going to power it from a USB hub on my desk, just so that we're not going over the OTG connection from my laptop to the WLAN Pi. So that's just going to take a few seconds to power up, and then once that's actually back up, we can do our SSH session hopefully, and get access again. And you'll be able to see how the IP address is assigned and how we can see that from the front panel. So here it comes. Just got the initialization screen. Okay, so we're initially showing the default 192.168.42.1 address, which we always see when we boot up and there's no external network connection. So I'm just going to plug in the Ethernet port. So just give that a few seconds, and hopefully my switch here that I've got on the desk is going to assign an IP address, and we'll be able to get a network connection. It looks like I'm suffering with my rather... Oh, there we go. I was going to sound suffering with my flaky DHCP server again, but it's pulled on up. So we can see now we've got an address of 192.168.0.29. And then if I just SSH again, I'll just switch the camera off. There we go. So I should be able to just clear that off. Just make sure I can ping it. 192.168.0.29. So now there's no OTG connection involved. It's just purely my laptop is connected to the wireless. The WLAN Pi is connected to my Ethernet switch. There's no other connectivity between the two devices. And we can see we've got that connection. And again, I should be able to SSH into the box. So it's SSH WLAN Pi at 192.168.0.29. Because we're coming in from because it's a different IP address, we'll just get a prompt around the certificate, so we'll accept that. WLANPi is the password, and there we are again. We're back on the CLI of the WLAN Pi. So that's probably the easiest of the lot. Okay, so the next one that we're going to take a look at is access method number 3, which is the wireless network access. And what we're going to do for this one, we're actually going to make the first of all, we're going to make sure we've got a wireless LAN Wi-Fi dongle plugged in, which we have, which is the CF912, and we're actually going to make the WLAN Pi a wireless client. And so then, in the same way that we just accessed over the network to the Ethernet port when we had the Ethernet port connected to a switch, we're just going to have the connections to the WLAN Pi over a network connection via the Wi-Fi dongle this time. The only thing with this particular access method, it's great once you've got it set it up, because every time you power it on, it's just going to join. I use this a lot at home. It's on my home network. It just joins, and no matter where it is, I've got access to it. So it's a really convenient method. The only thing you've got to do is you've got to make sure that you configure the device initially to join the network as a wireless client. So just very quickly, looking at the scenario we're going to be testing now, we've got my laptop, which is going to get IP address DHCP assigned from the wireless network. We've got a wireless network of some sort with a DHCP service, and then we're going to configure the WLAN Pi to become a wireless client, join the wireless network, and we should be able to SSH into it again. So there's some instructions down here, which I'm again blocking with my, I'll just take that off. There we go. There's some instructions here of how we actually have to do the configuration. What we do, and I say you need to do this before you can actually use it in a wireless mode. So you need to establish a connection via OTG or over the Ethernet port to do the configuration. Then from then on in, you can just disconnect all the other network connections and it will just work over the dongle. So I'm going to walk through that now. Because we're already connected via the Ethernet ports, I've got the connected access and I can just edit the required ports. So, required files. So we're going to edit two files, which is /etc/network/interfaces and also /etc/ that should say WPA supplicant, not WPAN supplicant, /WPA supplicant.conf. I'll make these slides available, so that information you can sort of pull it off the slides later on if you want to backtrack and do this for yourself. So what I'll do now is I will run through the configuration process, and then we'll prove that we are connected over the wireless connection. So I'll configure the required files, bring up the wireless interface, we'll pull out the Ethernet port, so the only way we can possibly connect from my laptop to the WLAN Pi is over the wireless connection. So here we go. Let me bring up the Logitech camera again to show us the there we go, that's showing us the current state of the WLAN Pi. We're still connected over the Ethernet connection. So I've still got my, there we go. Yeah, I've still got my SSH sessions from before. So I'm going to edit those two files. So the way we do this is we do sudo to give us, because we need root level privileges to do this. So we do sudo, and then we use an editor called nano. So sudo nano /etc/network. One thing that you can actually do if you've not come across this before, you've got tab completion like you do on Cisco switches. So I just typed NET and then tab, and that completed it. And then the file we want is interfaces. So if I put enter and then tab, in we go. Just have to provide the WLANPi password so we can get the root level we need. Okay, and now we're actually in the configuration file for the interfaces, the network interfaces of the WLAN Pi. And I'm just using the up and down arrow keys on my keyboard to scroll down to one particular line that I want to access and change. Where are we? Here we are. I want to go to this line here where we've got this WPA supplicant.conf file, and what I want to do is actually just want to uncomment that line. So this just tells the WLAN Pi when the wireless LAN interface comes up to use this configuration file and WPA supplicant.conf, and that file has actually got the pre-shared key details and the SSID details for the network. So I'll just uncomment that. You just do Control X and it says at the bottom, do you want to save it? So just hit Y. And so that, sorry, I think I hit the wrong key. There we go. I'll just quickly go back into that to make sure I didn't make a mess of that. Just scroll down and we've got that line uncommented now. Okay, Control X to get out of that. The other file we want to configure is the WPA. Again, I'll just put WPA, hit tab, and then WPA supplicant.conf. So we go into there, and all we need to do here is to put in the name of our SSID that we want to join, which I've completely forgotten the name of. Hang on a second, sorry. It should be on here somewhere. I've got a test network that I set up. And there it is, WLANPi _test. There we go, so WLANPi _test. Pre-shared key is Wi-Fi Pros in lowercase. And this is just a network I've set up on my local network to do this demo. So there's no point driving to my house and trying to hack onto the network because it won't be here. Okay, so we've done that, and I just hit Control X now, and away we go. There we are. So that's written that file. So now we've done configured the two files. All we need to do now is to actually bring up the wireless interface. So if I do a command which is sudo IWconfig, which shows us the state of the wireless network. At the moment, we can see here that our WLAN 0 interface is just showing in monitor mode, so it's not joined any networks as yet. So what I'll do now is sudo if up WLAN 0, and that should just bring it up. All being well, and we can see it's just doing a little bit of it's bringing the interface up, and it just takes a short while to do its DHCP discovery, and so that's what it's doing at the moment. There we go. Looks like we got an address of 192.168.0.34, and if I do the IWconfig again, we can see now that the WLAN 0 interface here is on WLANPi test. So, and we're on the 5 gig network, which is great. So we're good to go. So if I will drop this connection now, because this is going over the Ethernet interface. So I've now logged out of the WLANPi. I'm going to unplug. There we go. I'm just going to unplug the Ethernet port. And so let's go back and have a look at our let's go and have a look at our WLANPi and see what it thinks on the front port. So if we take a quick look now at the interface from the front panel. So I just need to go down into the network configuration, into the WLAN interfaces, and we can see I don't know how well that's actually showing up on the camera, but it is actually showing that it's joined to the WLANPi test SSID, and it shows the channel that it's on. So we're good to go from a wireless perspective. So I'm just now going to make sure I can connect into that over the wireless. So I'll bring up my terminal again, and we will go to SSH. Oops, sorry, wrong screen. SSH WLANPi 192.168.0. I didn't get the IP address. Hang on a minute. I need to go back. It is actually showing on the screen there. So it's I need to go back. Have a look at the network interfaces here. Then I go up to interfaces, and we've got the IP address on there, which I can't quite read off the screen in front of me. I'm just going to lean over and look on the WLANPi itself. Oh yeah, we've got 192.168.0.34. I'd be better off if I got my glasses on. So I should be able to go to .34 now. So try that. 34. And I didn't get through for some reason. I missed out the @ symbol. That's my bad. There we go. Prompted for the certificate information, WLANPi. And boom, we're on again. So now we're going over the wireless connection. So I'm on the WLANPi, just purely going over the wireless connection between the my local home network and the WLANPi itself. So let's move on to the final method. And the final method that we're going to use is actually to throw the WLANPi itself into hotspot mode. What we can do here is we can change the mode that the WLANPi itself is operating in, and it actually becomes a small scale access point. So we can sorry, I'm just switching my camera back on. So the WLANPi itself becomes an access point, and we can then just join directly from our laptop over a wireless connection straight into the WLANPi and get the same access as we've had with the previous three methods. It's just another method of getting that network connectivity. So by default, we're going to get an SSID of WLANPi_hotspot. When we throw the WLANPi into this mode, we're going to have a default pre-shared key of Wi-Fi Pros. That is changeable. If you go onto the CLI, you can change that to something if you want to secure it up a little bit more. The WLANPi itself will get an IP address of 192.168.88.1 on its WLAN interface, and the laptop will get an DHCP assigned address from the WLANPi it'll be 192.168.88.x address. So we'll just run through this fairly quickly now. I think this one's fairly straightforward and self-evident. It's going to bring my WLAN Pi back. So what we've got to do here is I've actually got to change the mode of the WLAN Pi itself. So I'm just going to go through the interface menu here. I go to modes and I select hotspot. And it says confirm. And when we actually initiate this, it will do a full reboot. There's quite a few changes we have to make from a networking perspective, some config files, etc. we need to change. So it actually makes those changes and then does a full reboot. And then when it comes back up, it will be running the host APD process and will enable the SSID to be broadcast out over the wireless NIC adapter of the WLAN Pi, and we can join on just like a regular access point. So I'm just waiting for that reboot to finish. Takes about 40 seconds. There we go. We're coming back up, and we can see now on the front panel we're showing an IP address of 192.168.88.1, and we can see that's assigned to WLAN 0. So it's sitting there in hotspot mode. It actually says hotspot as well just below the IP address, and we should be able to join that network. So I'm just going to get my my laptop to join that. So here we go. I'm just going to bring up the networking connections and just see if I can see that. Here we go. We've got WLAN Pi hotspot, so I'll click on that and do connect. Okay, it's asking for the key, Wi-Fi pros. We don't want anybody else to see that. And that'll just take a few seconds to join there. And we can see on the front panel of the WLAN Pi now, it's showing one client actually connected. Okay, so let me just get rid of the WLAN Pi and we'll just make sure we've got the connection we expect. Here we go. Let's do a quick ping, 192.168.88.1. Oops, sorry. There we go, we've got the connection, and all being well, we should be able to just SSH in again. SSH WLAN Pi at 192.168.88.1. WLAN Pi, and boom, we're in again. Okay, so this time we're just purely going directly from the laptop to a wireless connection, joining the SSID, which is being broadcast by the WLAN Pi itself. So another pretty quick and easy way of getting into the WLAN Pi to get ourselves CLI access. So that's the end of the demos that I wanted to show for you. All of these demos actually work on both Mac and Windows in exactly the same way. You've got exactly the same connectivity options. So if we just do a very quick review of what we've had a look at. So the first connection method that we tried was the USB OTG access method, where we actually connected a USB cable between the laptop and the micro USB port socket of the WLAN Pi. We did an Ethernet network connection from the WLAN Pi to an Ethernet switch port. It got an IP address and we were able to access it remotely over a network connection. We also did a quick bit of reconfiguration of a couple of files on the WLAN Pi for access method number 3, where we actually made the WLAN Pi into a wireless client. It could then join an SSID, and again we've got that remote network connectivity access. And then in the final method we actually changed the mode that the WLAN Pi itself was operating in, so it flips into a hotspot mode, and we can just join it directly from our laptop in a peer-to-peer type connection. So that's all I've got for today. If you want to know any more about the WLAN Pi, please give us a visit at WLANPi.com. Also, you can look at documentation by visiting help.WLANPi.com, and you can always find out more about the WLAN Pi and see any activity and announcements and maybe get support, things like that, by accessing Twitter and using hashtag WLANPi or following the account WLANPi as well. So thanks for all your time today. Hope this has been useful, and look forward to joining you again soon. Take care. Bye.